Just us.
Is that
All right.
better?
So we are recording. Mr. Chairman, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. As the chair from last year, I'll call the meeting to order. Got seven, well, Wendy, you'll put the time in the minutes. So we have two hors d'oeuvres de business today. We have to decide whether we're going to elect officers with our small number, or do we want to wait until we have the other two board members here?
Well, is it a requirement that we do it now?
Recently, the town put out a memo asking us, number one, to elect members in our first meeting. And it was the purpose for having this meeting today is to elect the members to comply with that request.
Is there an RSA that we have to?
Not,
Not particularly, but it, that's what they wanted, the sort of organizational meeting. This is the first one after town meeting,
Yeah,
especially for you guys, because you're elected. The other boards are appointed. And so it takes a little, they usually set it in May as the time to do that. So it gives the select board some time in April to get the appointment forms printed up. But you guys have been at least the ones that were up for reelection have been duly elected. So I don't think we have any problems there. I think.
no, we can elect our officers as soon as we want, but I don't think there's any crisis. There's no big rush.
Nope.
Do you think we ought to wait for the other two or should?
I think I'll make a motion that we do wait and you take on till they come.
Okay.
Our next meeting.
Second?
It's fine. Whatever anybody wants to
Whatever,
do is
same.
fine.
I'll second for discussion. So
It's
You're okay with it
fine.
either way?
I'm okay with it, sure. Maybe by then I'll be able to see.
Oh,
I-
it's May. Is anything coming up in May?
I haven't, well, so there's a bunch of things sort of brewing. I think we'll see in the short term future, we'll see, representatives from that big development. They've been in to see us.
Which
Last week.
one?
That's the big one up on top of Dry Bridge Hill, 77 acres. So
Where?
It's called Laramie Farm,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
The
where is it
liner
again?
man.
top of Dry Bridge. So you know where the roller rink was?
yes.
Yeah,
Across the street, there's a little driveway that goes up to our water
Oh,
tower.
right,
Have you
right.
seen that? It's just there's a little gate there. You'll see.
It's
it.
easy to miss if you're not.
oh, they wanna put houses up there?
They want to put some serious houses up there. Yep.
At least Bergeron's car wash looks better than Jake's.
All right. We're
Okay,
working on
so
that.
we may have some issues coming up in May, but I think
I have a question about an issue. Whatever
let's
happened
deal
to?
with this issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to postpone elections until we have more of our members present, and I'm okay with that. All in favor, say aye.
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 There you go. 3-0.
So I like having that on the record as a formal motion.
Yeah, I think you're right. As long as people coming, what happened to those people that own all that land between Bog Road and George's Hill?
That's Mr. Tabor. Haven't seen him. That's been off the table. I think he's still tied up in wetlands permitting. That's the
Oh.
latest. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Yeah,
on
the most
conservation.
recent conversation at Conservation Commission was that DES had basically asked them to resubmit. And I think they haven't heard anything since that.
Well, what was the last time we went up there, and it's gotta be last year, at the George's Hill end of their road, somebody was doing something up there with a piece of equipment.
Are you talking about on Bog Road out
No, it
by,
goes between the land they own, remember? It goes between Bog Road and George's Hill, and they wanted to build this big fancy house.
On the
And they were
backside of
gonna have
George
this huge, long driveway that went through the wetlands. It
It's
was
right
gonna be a
behind us,
3,000-foot
George Farm.
driveway.
That's it. Peter Tabor. One you're thinking about is the gravel pit down, further down?
I'm thinking of down by the gravel pit, yeah.
Yep.
That's not this.
That one's off the table too, at least
All right.
for the short term. We had scheduled a couple of hearings last year for planning board. Planning board would issue gravel pit permit. And the butters and Eastman got very fired up there. And so
Right.
Mr. Conkey withdrew his application.
I
So-
think, didn't we
Really?
opine that think we decided that they didn't need a variance because.
Now, he went
It
back,
could.
right?
We'll see what happens now. He's supposedly hiring some experts to help him with the permitting. But,
I don't think.
I've talked to him a few times since, and he's kind of upset with people in Eastman. Eastman people have, sort of shot themselves in the foot with that, because they were actually hoping to get a piece of that land for a new well. Now he doesn't want to work with them at all. In fact, he doesn't want to sell them gravel or sand for their septic systems, so. Interestingly, we'll see, he still has the active pit further north on the other side, they're on the left side as you're headed south.
He hasn't closed that,
That one is not closed.
okay.
So,
Because the other ones, he's got water in them. Now they're wetlands. Now it's a wetland. That water pound is gonna be a wetland,
Yeah.
and he needs to have
So
that.
that's the one you're talking about further down by Eastman.
Well, there's several of them going down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
All the ones that he's closed, he's got a big,
Yep.
but you have to watch that wetlands, the prime wetland thing,
Oh,
to
yeah.
look at the maps.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
so is it your opinion that once something is holding the water, that it becomes a wetland?
That's what they'll tell you.
Is it?
Yep. Yep, cause I was talking to him one day and I was talking about my neighbor who put a pond in and he didn't get any permits. And he said, well, let him work in it now, he'll need a permit.
Ah,
So,
all right, why don't we take care of business, and then if we wanna talk about what
Yeah.
might be coming
We
in
can
the
turn the
future, we
recording
can
off.
turn back to that.
Yes,
So for now, we need to,
approve the minutes from
Approve the
January
minutes.
10th, and there, I have one thing. That on line 110,
110.
it
setback
says
intrusion would
setback
be-
intrusion would be. I have
Alright.
no idea what that meant.
I do.
What did it mean?
Setback intrusion would be smaller than it is today.
Okay. There's no typos. It's perfect. As usual, Whitney.
Yes.
I like the more brief format.
I think they're good.
Yeah, I do too.
I've got no complaints at all. And I couldn't find any typos. And even with my bad vision, I didn't find any typos. That was the only thing I found. So I move
Yeah,
we
until
approve
June,
them,
Emily's
because you need a motion, so there's a motion.
All right, so we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Then we can
second.
discuss, okay? Now we can discuss,
We did
not be
this already.
disgusted. We have discussed some.
Yeah,
Any other points or questions?
no,
All right, and Whitney, you've noted that on line 110, we need to complete the sentence.
Yeah.
Setback intrusion would be reduced from what it is at present,
Smaller, whatever,
would be made smaller, yeah.
yeah.
You could say in smallified. I
You know,
don't
the
think
town
Susan would
manager
allow
lives across the street from that house? I did not know that.
it. I don't know.
He does.
on Gunquin Road,
Yeah.
that's what it lives on.
It's clear down at the end, and he lives in the house up on the hill below those,
Yeah. Yeah.
above those cottages.
All right, so unless there's an objection, we'll take the minutes as approved. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, any new business, or do you just want to hear more from Rob about what's coming up?
I wanna hear what's coming up, cause, yeah,
So, yeah, they'll probably be in, the Laramie Farms developers will probably be in for some, they're probably gonna need special exception. They're probably gonna need at least one or two variances for that project. It's pretty major. If you guys, obviously you went to town meeting, and you saw the changes that the planning board put forth, and those were passed. One of them was the
ADUs.
setback to the prime wetlands has now been increased to 100 feet, up from 50.
All right,
Right,
that's good to be aware of.
The allowance now in all residential properties in town to have 2 ADUs instead of just 1. So if you want to build some apartments at your house, call me.
Are you getting a lot? You said one day you were getting a lot,
Yep, there's a bunch of interest in that.
huh?
Yep.
Now, are
How
these,
many you at now? You were at 10 the last time I
Oh,
talked.
I bet I've taken 20 calls since the town meeting on that. And, it's almost a constant every day. Somebody reaches out, and, oh, what's this all about? We're trying to get the word out. I've been scheduled to go meet with the Board of Realtors. In June, I'll be meeting with them. It's the trainings for all the realtors have to have continuing ed credits from the Board of Realtors. So the Board of Realtors offers all kinds of, creative trainings. So I'll be presenting to them about what Enfield has done. It's kind of a big deal because we're one of the first towns in New Hampshire to allow 2.
Don't make it too.
Want to go to 4?
Too favorable.
Well, a lot of those big houses have several apartments in them
Yeah, a
now.
lot of them do.
Especially
You
in
know?
downtown. And it's much easier if you're on municipal sewer to do it. To do it in the sort of back roads with private septic, you have to have approval for a new septic system that would support the additional capacity of the apartments.
Well, yeah,
Or you
because
can
when I had to put a septic in that house in Haverhill when we moved in.
Yep.
There was no septic, there was a straight pipe, which I think is under Route 10.
Yep.
Anyway, so they said because the size of the house, we had to put in 1,000-gallon septic tank because they counted 5 bedrooms.
Yep. Yep.
It's on the number of bedrooms.
That's it. Absolutely.
is the idea behind the ADU that you make a in-law apartment, or is it
Yes.
just you could do it for anything?
Oh, yeah, well, it's very flexible. It's very family friendly. It could be for elderly parents. It could be for adult children.
Does it have to be connected to the
It
main
does
dwelling?
not. So the way that the new ordinance as written in Enfield, you can have one that's attached or enclosed, meaning part of your house.
Hmm.
And you can have one that's detached, meaning separate structure.
Would we
In-
consider attachment to be like a breezeway
Yes.
or an overhead
Yes.
walkway between a
Yes.
house and a garage?
The enclosed would be like a floor on your house, like you could have your basement or your first floor, your second floor could be an apartment
But enclosed would not be,
attached. So the attached, it could be, like you said, like a breezeway connecting. Now, the classic is you got your house, you've got an L, you've got a garage with an apartment over the top. That's attached.
the garage is,
The
even if
garage
it's
is
a freestanding building?
No, if it's a freestanding building with no attachment to your house, that's the detached. And you can only have one detached. So you can have one attached or one detached. You
Gotcha.
can actually have 2 attached. The problem with 2, and we've written it into the regulations, if you have 2, that would make, basically your house would have 3 units in it. And that kicks in the multifamily building code that the building inspector is gonna hit you with, which most likely includes sprinklers. When you have 3 apartments in one building,
So you can do it under ADU, but you may be
you
subject
may
to
have
other
to do
code.
a more aggressive.
In one building now.
Yeah,
One
but
building.
you know what that makes possible? They build these pods for elderly people
Yeah.
that you could put in your backyard
Yes.
and your parent could
Mm.
live in there and they've got all
Absolutely.
kinds of handicap stuff for them.
Yeah, the people on most of the calls I'm getting are lakefront. And the lakefront people are all excited about a guest house. You could build, the limitation is 800 square feet, it's the max. So it's a very small guest house, but it could be like a little cottage with a bedroom, and a little kitchen and.
What's small enough to skirt that regulation?
800 square feet.
What about the
So if you're going smaller?
setbacks on
On
these
The
8
lakes
acre
have to
lots?
have
Like
the
hundred and
water,
fifty
the
square
sewer.
foot ADU.
Setbacks still apply. You can have 100, if you think you can live in 150 square feet, you can try it, absolutely.
Well, I'm thinking of like detached bedrooms for my kids as they get older,
Yeah.
so
Well,
they could,
tiny
they could-
houses.
yeah. But I'm not even thinking of a whole house. This is just an idea I had, was
Oh, yeah, we've seen
out
those
on the
like a bunk
property,
house.
small, yes, very small bunk houses. They can have a private space. There's, pathway back to the house. We share a kitchen somewhere. We share facilities.
Yeah.
But what are those?
You
What would
just
those
need a
be
septic
considered?
system.
Why don't you just give them a tent?
Well, I don't
Just-
know, he's
yeah,
in R
permanent
five, I think.
You're probably in R5. Are you in R5?
I am, yeah.
That will go, that's only people on the sewer though, right?
No, you can build an ADU on the R5. It just has to have a septic system.
Doesn't a detached require a separate system entirely?
No, it can be
No.
the same system. Typically, the detached will have its own septic tank and then it'll go into a collective leach field. Although you could, I mean, say you had 100 acres, you could build a guest cottage miles down the road, still on your land, would have to have its own system.
I thought it was all in the R1 district this was done.
All residential districts.
Well,
It's in our new,
if it's the people around the lake, they're living on 1/8 acre lots and they want to put in ADUs, can they do that? And don't they have to make the setbacks?
they have to meet the setbacks and
Right,
they
it
have to
doesn't
have
change
septic
that,
system.
right? It wouldn't change that.
No change in setbacks.
It's, I
And
think
the
with this,
limiting factor is they gotta have a septic system designed and approved by the state of New Hampshire DES. This is a limiting factor. If you have 1/8 of an acre and you've already built a house and you've already built a septic system, there's not a lot of room to put anything else on it.
Oh, they'll
Wow.
figure it out.
Well, that
But
was.
over on
stated.
4A, they could connect up to our municipal sewer, which is a win for all of us. We want them to hook up to municipal sewer
Yeah,
and get those failed systems out of the picture.
okay, so I'm thinking about what might we see as people try to figure it out. How are you gonna cram this onto the lot? And I think what we're probably gonna see is requests for variances to violate setbacks.
Yeah.
We're gonna see requests for variances to people maybe not aware that we can't do this, but request for a variance to build a septic system. You know, that kind of stuff. So you
Septic
probably
system-
gotta,
Septic system can be built up to the property line. The setbacks, okay there, but for the building itself, yeah, you might see that. And of course, it's kind of I think it's gonna be hard for them to argue unnecessary hardship, but they've already got their house.
right,
And you're just trying to build a second house, basically, on the property. But then again, you might have said, oh, I've gotta have a place for my mom. She's infirm. She needs constant supervision. I need her to be on my property.
I don't give
You
you
may have
variances
that.
for people.
we'll put her in
That's
the, and put her
You
in the
give
spare
variances for the
bedroom.
land.
Correct, correct. That's
So
right.
if you wanna build an ADU on your property for the future, that's fine.
Yep. Another thing that happened at, town meeting, planning board put forth the change in the R1, which is probably one of the things that's getting to you, is the density in the R1 allowed previously, so R1 is 1 acre subdivision,
Minimum.
except for if you have municipal sewer. If you have municipal sewer, we would let you go down to a 1/2 acre size. Well, now they've changed it, so it's down to a 1/4 acre in size.
Okay,
And they dropped, because it was municipal water and sewer, now it's just sewer. Because you have those properties on Route 4A that are not connected to town, water, but they are connected to sewer.
so I guess the point is, if you're on the sewer, you don't need the land for your septic.
Correct.
Now, did they reduce the minimum lot size if
Yeah.
you're not on septic?
No.
So
How do you
it's
get-
an acre if you're not on septic, it's a
Yeah.
1/4 acre if you are on the septic.
Correct.
If you
Sewer, yep.
have a small lot and you have a septic system, your well has to be 75 feet away.
Correct.
But we don't have to worry about that fortunately, because that's up to DES.
That's a
not
DES work.
Yeah,
Correct. You can appeal, with them for exceptions to those rules, but
we're not gonna see that.
not our problem. Exactly.
We're gonna deal with setbacks, we're gonna deal with whether the ADU fits our ordinance. Because people will ask for variance and we don't know the ordinance.
Yep.
Very well yet, so we're gonna have to study that.
What the planning board is shooting for with that density thing is kind of what didn't happen with zoning. What we hoped would happen with zoning, but didn't happen, is that more people would build in the villages. And that has not been the case. We've seen way more pressure on the back roads of Enfield and my hometown Plainfield. 5 acre, 10 acre subdivisions, chopping up farmland, forest, you know all about that, Sealy.
So-
Where we'd love to see where the services are, where there's people, let's put the houses in the village, that's what we want. So
Get
that's
the
what they're trying to
businesses
do.
there.
Yeah, and I mean,
So I didn't realize, I don't know how I missed that they did it in the R3 and R5.
all residential,
For ADUs.
for ADUs.
Yeah, right.
And that's actually,
I just-
Before we did ours, statewide zoning, state had it in all residential districts of the state. You could have one ADU. And so Enfield decided, planning board, let's see what happens with two. I mean, if it turns into a fiasco, next year they can change it back. There's actually a bill before the New Hampshire legislature that would do the same thing as we just did, except for it would boost the square footage to 1,000 from 800. And you could have two detached. Instead of us, we only allow one detached.
But we can have one.
We can have one.
The strongest shall apply.
Oh, if the
The
state
more
says,
restrictive, right?
no,
Is that what you
if
mean
the
by
state
strong?
says something that's different than us, the state applies.
I don't know about that.
So if the state says you can have two detached, then our rule goes out
I
the
don't
window.
think so.
I don't think so either.
Well, so New Hampshire is not a home rule state, so the only authority that we get is given to us by the state. And so if the state says something is more permissive, then we don't have any say on that.
I'm not sure that's
Positive on
correct.
I've actually
Glad you
talked to
are.
the New Hampshire Municipal Association attorney on it, as well as our own attorney on it, so, I mean, I'm
Can you show
happy
us the
to,
law that says that?
on New Hampshire state law?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, because I swear to that it's.
Yeah.
The stronger law shall apply. That's
The more restrictive, right?
the more restrictive.
well, so,
So that would be more permissive. If they said you can have two detached and one
that would absolutely
attached.
apply, because what happened was, before, when the state made it so you can have one ADU, there were hundreds of towns in New Hampshire that did not even allow ADUs at all. And so the state's law trumped everybody. And actually Enfield and Plainfield and Lebanon, we actually allowed ADUs before the state said you could. And so when the state came along, it was like, okay, state applies, town stop, throw it out the window.
We're probably not gonna have to deal with that.
I don't know
Because-
about that.
Because
Yeah, we'll see,
we're
we'll
generally
see.
more permissive than the state, but it would be good for us to
Yeah.
understand. It may be just something that we have always believed.
I think it's gonna
So-
happen all over.
No,
I
so
mean,
housing is a huge
which-
deal.
I mean, which rule?
Well, the idea is
Yeah,
to
but we're
get, like
we're
Rob
not dealing
said,
with
the idea is to
families,
get the housing clustered.
Yeah.
And keep the trees.
That's what I want.
Well, yeah, we need to keep the
I've
trees.
mourned, in my town, I've mourned as farmland gets chopped up. I mean, like really valuable. Cause once you put a house on farm field, it's gone.
Yeah.
In fact, the classic is they come in there and they strip all the topsoil off, put the house in, and then they can't even grow a lawn because they took all the contractors taking all the soil away. And so there's the house in the middle of a field that used to be beautiful, gone.
Do you
That's
have
next.
any applications before you to subdivide small R1 lots below, under the new quarter acre rule?
I've had a few people call. I have not, no applications yet. Our big problem right now on subdivisions is there's a total shortage of surveyors. If you wanted to subdivide any of your land right now, good luck.
How, do we have any data on how many lots we have that could be subdivided from?
Yeah, the planning board looked at that. I mean, it's really hard to quantify, but there's certainly a lot of
It
land out
shouldn't be
there.
difficult to quantify, because we have a record of every single lot in town,
Oh,
right?
we do, absolutely.
So we
yeah.
can look at every lot in town and,
Yep. But there's all those other things that go into it. I mean, you gotta have frontage.
yeah, we have all
You
that
gotta have the
data.
ability to put a septic system in. I mean, if it's all wetland, you can't put a septic system in.
Right.
So some of those things are hard to sort of look at a map and say, okay, we can't use that lot. Maybe you can, maybe you can't,
Yeah.
based on a bunch of other factors, like I said, the septic system is a big one.
How many houses is this Laramie, what's it face?
Laramie Farm,
Yeah, what are they proposing?
300 units,
Houses or?
On
apartments?
77 acres?
yes. Apartments,
So not
multifamily.
standalone units.
Nope, there'll be, right now, the proposal is 6 buildings.
Yeah, but it's a hill.
How big of how tall is
It's
the
a
building?
steep hill.
You wanna adjourn so I can stop the recording? It's up to you guys.
Yeah, we're done with our business.
Yeah, let's adjourn, so we can talk.
Well, we can't talk about zoning board stuff if we adjourn.
Oh, that's true.
If we want to keep talking about zoning board concerns, we need to leave the meeting open so that people can view the recording.
Well,
Can't do any business, certainly.
That's a steep hill they're talking about building
I just
on.
hope it's not 100 feet tall, they
No,
might do
there are-
something like
there are
that, you
limits.
never know. So they get a view around the world.
guys
up
adjourn?
there.
No,
No?
we're gonna keep talking about stuff that might touch on
Okay,
variances that they might ask about. We need to.
Oh, yeah, we have to be
We need to
careful
keep
about
that, keep
that.
that on the record.
that's right.
Right.
So
So
That's
that looks
the
like they
very-
might want a height variance,
that's height variance they're gonna be going for.
right?
They most likely would need some special exception, possible for, maybe a single wetlands crossing at one point.
I don't think
This is the
that's,
map.
that's not a special exception, is it?
Yes, it is.
But it's not flat. It's a steep hill.
What's the,
My house was on a steep hill, it's a lot better now.
everybody in my town lives on steep hills.
Right.
They want views.
Right,
So what's the,
You know what? The whole thing about all this housing going on around here
Yes.
bothers me. The population's going down. They're gonna build all these houses and they're gonna fill them for 5 or 10 years and then it's gonna be empty.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I think
Population's really not.
we're 10,000 houses short in the Upper Valley.
Did you see the latest National Geographic?
Well, I'm looking at numbers for our area.
Well, I'm looking at, they're looking at we've hit 8 billion. And in a few places, the population is growing. But in most of the world, the population is going down.
But
because
not
they're
here,
not having kids.
not here. We're trending down a little bit, but we are short of housing here.
Well,
Over
and
the
then
next 10,
Hitchcock
15
builds
years.
200 more
Beds,
beds and has no staff.
because they don't have any place to put them.
Right.
But they don't have any available. And they don't
Correct.
have a
Because
nursing
we need some
school.
housing.
Right.
If
So
you
we're
look
gonna
at,
build housing.
in Lebanon, there's 2,000 units just like this under construction right now. Go up Mount Support. Have you been up Mount
Yeah,
Support?
right, right.
I drove up there recently. My dad was in the hospital. I drove up there. I was blown away.
You
The
can
housing that's going.
see them from the Osher classroom,
It's
all those
incredible.
apartments going up. But they can ride bicycles to work.
So they might be asking for a variance for height.
yes,
What else? Why are you saying special exception to cross the wetland?
because that's one of the special exceptions.
Is
The,
it?
the Peter Tabor thing that we were
Gotcha.
talking about earlier, that was a special exception.
That's not a variance.
It's not a variance.
So it's a special exception and we said no.
That's part of,
No, you
No,
say
we
anything.
didn't.
No here.
We
No,
told them
we
think
told them
about
to
it.
come back.
We told them, go and think about
He
this.
withdrew because he needs DES
Yes.
before he does anything. So he's still working on DES, but
What else we might see besides
I mean,
this?
if we don't give special
Laramie
exceptions for
Hill.
wetlands crossing, nothing in the whole town gets built, because there's, you gotta cross I mean, Interstate 89 probably crosses 1 million wetlands, right? I mean, everything. So you and I to drive here today, we cross wetlands coming
Oh, yeah.
down Shaker Hill.
So what else might we see besides Laramie Hill coming?
Let's see. Be interesting to see, finally starting to get some serious interest in the Bob LaCroix land, which is behind his dealership.
Okay.
It says 43 acres. It's
yeah.
an old gravel pit. It's actually pretty high and dry up there. It's up behind Shaker Valley Auto and Bellerin's Auto. That one, I actually had a call today. It was really interesting.
That's what they wanted to put the police station. Oh, they offered
Thought
the
about it,
police.
Bob LaCroix offered to donate some land, but the development costs just to get up there were gonna be significant, so they didn't do that.
I don't, well,
They're
we're
doing
spending
it-
a lot of money on that other one too.
Oh, yeah,
They're doing it by the Granite Hill Granite place, aren't they?
correct.
That Route 4 and Old Farms Road, that corner
With
there.
water 5 feet below, which I think is insane.
What
Underground.
happened to the people that were gonna sell modular homes where that
They're coming
rest?
back. They're coming, just talked to him today. Where Raphael's was.
Mhm.
Yep, they'll be back for, site plan for that one. Get a site plan review.
Oh, but the land's for sale.
Oh, he's one of those guys that everything's for sale, so.
Oh,
If somebody came along and offered him a good price, he'd sell it, but I think his plan is he's gonna sell, mobile and modular homes as like a dealership there.
that's what he said to us.
Let's see, what else?
Hey, could
Who
you
wants to go up on
confirm
the
for me that
course?
it's, where the new town Public Works building is gonna be? Is it that corner?
Public safety.
Public
Yes.
safety?
Yeah, so do you know where the Shaker Hill Granite is?
Yeah,
I think I know what that is. Is that?
Right
where
across
they
from
just-
Dunkin' Donuts and Randy's Car Wash.
Thank you.
Right
and
there.
and the SAU,
The SAU's,
Oh,
yeah, it's right
fair.
behind there. Yep,
yeah,
Okay.
behind Family Dollar. the SAU
Yeah.
is.
Oh, that's why they moved all their granite samples off of that piece of land.
Yeah, so the public safety is gonna be in the front, right,
Yeah,
close to the road.
I get it. I get
And
it.
you say, well, that's right on the Canyon line, but if you look at our kind of map right here,
It's actually not.
it's an awesome location.
Right, it's really.
It's an awesome location because it is right here, almost on the Canyon line. It's right there.
Yeah.
But if you know, I'm sure you guys all do, to get to this area of town, you're going up Jones Hill, boom, you're right here, you're in all this back.
Yeah.
This is kind of our rural area in town. This is where, I mean, obviously, we've got the village downtown, you got Enfield Center, you got the sort of commercial industrial, Methodist Hill over this way.
Yeah.
But really, Enfield, as we know it, is here, you know what I mean? This is where a lot of houses are and there's a lot of people that live out here, and we're talking about 5, 10, 15 acre subdivisions. So to get from that spot to here is awesome, very advantageous. And don't forget, we do have a fire station, second station, right, at Enfield Center right about here. So that's covering this area.
we got any
Obviously,
fire?
this will be
What do you mean advantageous? When you say-
advantageous for response.
Yeah,
They
just because he goes over Jones Hill, you mean?
Yeah, so they can
That's
get,
the only way to get there.
so
Oh.
when I leave here to go get pizza at Ziggy's, I go over Jones Hill. That's how I get down there. It's faster to do that than just go down through here in the village and all that way. Especially with, actually Jones Hill is way nicer than Shaker Hill.
Yeah.
Shaker Hill is absolute rough,
Yeah.
blasted, terrible, poor drainage, and it's a state road, which drives us crazy.
Very populated, and I think for the bigger trucks, the responding vehicles are gonna have a better time on Jones Hill and
Yeah.
Haven.
Another really awesome thing is your 5-town school district facility in Mascoma is right there. So for them to respond to that is instantaneous. So we really like that. And, Phil Neely, our former building inspector, he's the chief now here in Enfield. He's doing a great job.
Yeah,
They
he's
really
running
are.
around in his red SUV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's doing great.
Hey, did they adjust the setbacks for quarter acre lots in R1?
No.
That's still.
I wish they
15,
had.
10, no.
But so the planning board is actually embarking on a project that may see a complete rewrite of the zoning. They've actually talked about it. We're applying for a grant with New Hampshire Housing, which gives out money for towns to redo their zoning ordinances.
Cool.
And, I think it's time to really start looking at some new things with our zoning ordinance. As you guys know, I mean, you know all about pretty much everything we see is area variance, area variance, area variance here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, they're gonna look at it. They're probably gonna hire, if we get the grant, they'll hire a consultant to come in and help us with some either rewrite or some redo of some of the regs.
Makes me nervous.
It does. Makes me nervous too.
Well,
If the people in control of that rewrite process are in favor of development and profit, we could see a increase in crowding. But if we have a
I know.
balance,
I don't get that from the people that I work with.
when
You
you
will.
That
do
would be my
that,
word.
you have to think about the school. That's,
There,
right
nobody
there
even
is no
thinks
way to
about that.
expand that elementary school.
With declining enrollment, I don't think we need to.
Well, but you gotta find out. I mean, if you're gonna attract all these people, some of them are gonna bring kids.
So,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and if they don't really think about what they're gonna do about the school, there's 700 kids in Hanover High School. I was there 20 days and I never laid eyes on the principal.
the problem in my town, and I think it's the same problem we got here, is the school is way smaller than it was. I mean, I went to school at Plainfield Elementary, was 300 kids. It's now under 200 in Plainfield. And I think it's very similar demographics here in Enfield. I think Mascoma High School is a shell of what it once was in terms of population. So they've lost a lot of students.
Okay.
You said that people aren't having kids like they used
Aren't
to.
having kids.
Yeah,
or not.
exactly. And
Does anybody have any
can't
more
afford 'em.
business for the ZBA?
Yeah,
If you're, I'd like to call us to a close, because
Okay.
I'd like to go home.
all right.
I love visiting, but
Me
I'm
too.
I'm in the middle of a work task.
One thing before you do, though, I will mention, just for thought, you guys can do whatever you want. Planning board has moved up their start time. Planning board is now 6:30. Something for you to consider if you're interested.
Yeah, well, when everybody else gets here, we can ask.
Okay.
At this point, I don't care. All I
I'll come
want
get
is
you at
my
6:30.
All right, but think about it for the long term. You
Yeah,
know, when your eyes aren't killing you anymore, are you gonna be interested in starting earlier? Just think about it. for the
I'm
future, okay?
flexible for all those sorts of things, but I
planning board,
think this is
moved
such
theirs
a
up.
good group of people. I want to continue to be part of it. So whatever is decided, I'll do it.
some of their meetings are run until 10 o'clock at night, so they
Right.
moved it up so they could. at
Yeah, we're
least
not gonna
be
do
out.
that. We're not going to.
I hope. not.
We haven't had to.
They don't have anything
All right.
posted for tomorrow.
If there's
the
no
agenda.
objections, I'm gonna call it
Aren't they
closed
meeting
at,
tomorrow?
seven
Nothing's on the
40.
web, I'll make sure
Yeah.
it's up there.
That's good. It makes us look like we had a real
Just a
meeting.
work session. Nothing. No
Yeah.
worries.
You pass your, signs down to Rob.
Okay, if it's zoning, I'll be there.
Thanks.
They're talking about their
Why do we have
project.
a for Ed McLaughlin?
Is he still an alternate?
Is he still, I'll get those.
Yeah.
Ed came in to see me the other day, still available
Yeah,
if we need
he's
it.
around. Okay, people.
And, I did reach out, at Tim's suggestion, I reached out to the lady that had run unsuccessfully against, was it you that you, or was it you, that somebody ran from up on Oak Hill?
Is she gonna come be an alternate for us?
So I reached out to see if she had any interest.
Was her name Carol something? Somebody I never even heard.
Robeski, is that what it was?
What?
That sounds about right.
Robeski or something like that, Sobeski?
I reached out